That's gonna cause some talks with the therapist later. Okay, good, we're back. Apologies for the interruption. Forgot to put the safeguards in place. Again. But now there shouldn't be any more hexes, mental hazards, curses, or the like. You will have an easier time trying to convince me to jump feet first into a wood chipper than you would trying to get me to go spelunking. I am not one to tolerate tight spaces in the best of times, and caves are personally not the most ideal spot for what I consider a fun time. Did not this young man, though, honestly, I would applaud his bravery if it did not cause him to vanish off the face of the earth. This young man, who we will only refer to by Ted and his friend B, as he was called, were exploring a previously unexplored branch of a cave they have discovered. Due to some sense of pride, I guess they did not reveal what cave it was, which frankly was a bad idea. Over a period of several months in the year 2001, they encountered several unexplainable events while digging out a small hole for them to climb into. They knew something was wrong. They knew going back would be a bad idea. And yet, as always, curiosity killed the cat. The site has not been touched in the over years it has been up when our investigation teams looked into it. It looks like they did manage to get in deeper and found another section of the cave. However, that trail goes cold, with only some pictures and videotapes found in the entrance of the cave. No trace of the two cavers have ever been found. Last year, I talked about the effects that children's media has on your minds. Mainly, how it can turn sour. A common way of raising kids is through fear. I don't agree with it at all because that can tend to backfire. A lot. But of course, not all parents agree with me. And apparently, not all children's programming agree with me as well. Back in the 80s in the Middle East, there was a lot of turmoil. During the chaos of the Lebanon War in 82, a so-called children's program aired. 30 minutes of very uptight and strict lessons. A lot of graphic imagery that relates to this. Often as consequences for failing to abide by these morals. Reportedly, each episode ends with a slow zoom-in of a dark, rusted metal door. The sounds of screaming children slowly fading in. When an individual found a studio in which the channel's programming was recorded, the individual supposedly found this door. And inside, well, it frankly disturbs even me. Traces of blood, feces, and tiny bone fragments lay scattered across the floor. At a small room, an extremely morbid scene. And a single caged microphone bolted to the ceiling. This may sound far-fetched, but similar graphic shows have been aired. An example is a Mexican TV program that aired around the same time, Mujer, Casos de la Vida Real. Read it up on your own time. It's wild the shit they got away with. Here at the CPI, we have to remain constantly vigilant. Random, horrifying occurrences can happen at the drop of a hat. A prime example is this unresolved case that occurred back in June of '72. A woman limped into a Cedars-Sinai hospital in Los Angeles, California, wearing nothing but a blood-covered gown and having a dead kitten clamped in her mouth. Regardless, the staff did their jobs and tried to help this woman. They got attacked by her, several dead bodies were discovered, with the cause of death being ruled as blood loss due to mauling. According to reports, she had a very uncanny mannequin-like face, and when she opened her mouth, her teeth were long and needle-like. She tore into one of the doctors when they tried to sedate her, and took a chunk out of his throat. Security tried to apprehend her, but they were also found brutalized. According to the coroner, he thought it was a bear attack at first. The security footage, of course, is very limited. It was the 70s after all. But we managed to at least recover some photos of the incident that was taken by a female member of staff. The female doctor who survived the incident named her the Expressionless. Very creative, I know. There was never another sighting of her again. Would it at all shock you if I said that Hell has social media accounts? Several, in fact. One of the first recorded instances of this was around 2006-2007, with an account named SM666. Not soon after, the account named username 666 started making the rounds. To no one's surprise, the account ran by Hell has some very grotesque and brutal content. According to the archives we have, there were around 13 videos before the channel was terminated. One of these videos has been described as a woman drowning in blood. Several videos featuring people being tortured that have been pronounced dead several years before the video released, and several other horrifying clips that I do not feel comfortable talking about. This has not been the only case of the devil or whoever trying to make an online presence. We've had to take down accounts on Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, and 4chan. Not that anyone would notice the latter two. Strangely enough, I don't really see accounts run by the devil on metal or satanic sites. I find that very funny. I see him more in evangelical spaces. Alright, this one's a bit different. The story of this doll has been widespread due to the slight failure of containment on our part. But luckily, the public is more accepting of the idea of a haunted doll than any of the crazy bullshit we have to deal with. Ugh. Haunted dolls are a very well-known horror trope anyways, after the doll that famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren had to contain also became well-known. Back to Robert. He's a doll that belonged to an artist, Robert Eugene Otto, as a child. The stories and legends conflict with one tale stating that Robert was gifted by Eugene's grandfather. Another tale of a housemaid who cursed the doll after the family fined her for practicing so-called voodoo. It was the 1900s that a religion other than Christianity would have been considered voodoo, so I'm not sure if that actually means anything. Regardless of history, Robert either way is considered highly cursed. As a child, Eugene always blamed childhood incidents on Robert, claiming that the doll would actually move. Now, residing in East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, to no one's shock, he's in Florida, and according to local folklore, if you describe the doll in any way, such as not asking permission to take a photo, or taking ill of him in any way, causing the paused app to suffer misfortune or injury. Wait, ha! Good thing I came prepared this time. No dark influences coming into my mind. At this time, at least. a fairly recent and still heavily investigated subject. In certain places in the physical world, reality has soft spots where normal atomic particles fail and where you can pass through solid matter. Where you can instead travel across different, axes of dimensional planes, resulting in a spontaneous transportation of person and local reality to a pan-dimensional liminal space, according to the more scientific inclined members of the agency. This phenomenon was first discovered in 1873 with the utterly bizarre disappearance of James Warson. When the man was in a foot race and with several bystanders watching him, he tripped and before he hit the ground he vanished. 1 second he was in front of everyone and the next he gone. This is where a lot of missing people in similar circumstances end up nicknamed the back rooms of reality by institutions investigating this phenomena. It is a hypothetically infinite series of hallways and empty rooms, all covered in yellow wallpaper, slightly moist old carpet, and fluorescent lights, constantly buzzing. So far, explorers have discovered around 600 million square miles of nothing but randomly arranged rooms. There is a common misconception that the backrooms exist in layers, but this is actually different realities and universes intercepting the backrooms on a physical plane. And also there's a concerning amount of people who think that there's a cure-all almond water that leaks out the pipes. The reason it's called almond water is that it smells like almonds. This is because there's cyanide in the water. Don't drink the fucking cyanide water if you find yourself in the backrooms. Or do we not know what the hell is down there, but we know that a lot of explorers go missing, and that there are not a lot of dead bodies. Sometimes a weird event is just a person having fun. This is an example of what we want, a nice, simple explanation. Now, does this make this case any less eerie? No, it's still creepy as hell, honestly. ROM hacking is a very interesting subject, even to an old fart like me whose latest memories of video games was boxing on the old Atari. The fact that anyone can just easily alter game code to such a degree is truly amazing. This case is what happens when someone puts intrigue and mystery into a Mario game, putting hints of a grisly and macabre story, and a very haunting image, hidden in plain sight as a text, was a genius move. I must be honest, I had some nightmares when I first saw that face when I first joined the agency, even though it turned out to be a heavily edited photo of a metal artist. The photo we replaced it with, that is. How many goddamn experiments do we have to do to stop fucking with the metaphysical? I'm serious here. In the 70s, there was a scientist who wanted to unveil the curtains of reality, show the face of the universe, yada yada yada, you know how this ends. The scientist had a massive bunker with 3 rooms where he put his subjects. He spoke some weird incantations and boom! Monster. The thing tore all the scientists in the facility apart, all while some, let me see here. The song. Living in the Sunlight by Tiny Tim was emanating from the creature. Okay, I'm going to ask the record keeper what the hell she was on about next time. Anyways. One survivor remained, of course, and sealed the entire facility and the creature inside. But knowing the fact that he tore open a steel door, I'd wager that thing is still out there. See, this is why I always say scientists who want to experiment on the metaphysical should be lobotomized and then put into business school. God damn it. Really? Another damn experiment? Okay, so a tulpa is a being or entity in Buddhist practices. A materialized being or thought form, typically in human form, that is created through spiritual practices and intense concentration. They are manifestations of one's consciousness and emotions. This can vary wildly between person to person, and extreme caution must be in place if you want to manifest one. Of course, I'm sure those in our line of work are far more familiar with these things after the incidents of Berkshire County, Massachusetts. Of course, scientists are going to be scientists. This is a minor incident that took place some years back, where a single subject was tasked to manifest his own tulpa to gain a deeper understanding of the human subconsciousness. This went awry when the human subconscious turned out to be not that civilized, to put it lightly. As I mentioned last year, when the Soviets found out the same thing, deep inside our minds something horrible awaits. And now, that horrible thing is walking around. The subject's sister was found slain, and several other brutalities happened in the same area. However, the subject was nowhere to be seen. However, a thing superficially matching his description was witnessed at the sites of the murders. Shit. Okay, I feel bad for this one. I don't get families like this. Natalie Ouliette was a young and fairly reclusive young woman, not unusual in normal circumstances. However, of course, as these stories go, hers were not normal. Her family were not the best people, nor the most understanding, let's just say. Natalie knew this all too well, and had to keep the truth about herself a secret to her family. Not an uncommon problem, unfortunately. Things changed in 2012 when she was diagnosed with cancer. Her family at first were supporting her recovery, her uncle providing the most financially. Her treatments were tough. She even lost an eye due to the cancer and the chemo, but she had a chance. She had a chance. Then her family discovered her secret. She was dating another woman. Her family, and especially her uncle, were furious. And to drive the point further, they harassed the poor woman's girlfriend so badly she had to move out of town. They verbally tormented her by saying that the cancer was God's punishment for her sexuality. Completely vile shit like that. Her treatment was stopped. They completely abandoned her. Her uncle even came to her hotel room to torment her verbally further. The stress of everything caused her to snap. She broke into a surgical suite of the hospital and, using the watch her girlfriend left her, she set the time to around the day her life was expected to end, and sew it into a hollow socket. She was now on the clock, and she did not waste further time. She fled the hospital wearing nothing but a gown and hoodie. She broke into her uncle's apartment and stabbed him with his own kitchen knife so hard that it chipped against his ribs. She stumbled out of the apartment covered in blood and scrawled "Time's Up" on the wall next to the door. A clear message about not only her life ending, but now she's going to take every single member of her family that abandoned her. That week, one by one, the same thing happened. She was methodical, and the police never found her. I don't condone what she did, but I do hope she found some form of peace at the end. How the f*** am I supposed to pronounce this? If it's a review lot, I'm just going to refer to this case as MMG. MMG is a video recording that was somehow leaked from our archives onto YouTube around 2008. How it leaked I was never told, above my pay grade apparently, but to counter the leak we made several fake clips that were intentionally poorly made. If you search this now, you'll find a fake video of a man staring intently at you, expressionless, like that one from before, then grinning for the last 2 seconds. We even made several full clips to fool the public. The actual clip is actually a recording of an old Super 8 reel about 3 minutes in length. According to tests, the video contains several psychologically hazardous images past the 45-second mark. What exactly made 153 people want to scream and rip their eyes out with their bare hands? I'm not willing to see for myself. I like my eyes. But according to interviews of the survivors, the film gets more and more depraved and the images get more and more horrifying, and finally, to get us out there, no, the survivors did not send their eyes to YouTube headquarters. But we did never actually find the eyes. In the early 90s, I think 92, 93 or around that time, a cheap compilation of other games and the like was released in small markets across the US. You know, a game you'd find in like a bargain bin or a cheap CD-ROM you get pre-packaged with other similar games. The strange part comes in when you look closer. No game studio, no publisher, not even any crew listed. Nothing on the game case. When you installed the game onto your computer, or at least tried, the install program will most likely crash your entire computer. The installation process would immediately lock up your computer when the user reached a licensing agreement. We have managed to get around this by inspecting the code of the installer in assembly and brute forcing the entire process. I'll simply show you the rest now.
Thank you. Please enjoy the show.
A proper monster, this one. One we're currently hunting. But this one has been elusive. This entity, nicknamed the Seed Eater by local legends in the North Dakota region, a large monster that is said to be a mix of bird and human that feeds on children. An ancient and evil being who drinks the blood of those he killed to retain his youth and power. Stalking, observing, hunting, tricking. The Seed Eater, according to legends, has the power to mentally attack one's mind to do its bidding, tapping into deep-seated instincts and the most animalistic parts of the minds to make those who it beckons to kill and bring it fresh meat. We have several private journals of several mass murderers that mentioned it by name over a period of several hundred years. Photographic evidence, very blurry most of the time, sure, but we do have proof. So we do know it's not a mere psychosis or urban legend. Perhaps it's related to the various cannibalistic myths from around the world, like the Baba Yaga in Slavic-speaking countries. And the Seed Eater is actually very similar to Zunukwa, a figure prominent in indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest coast, mainly Vancouver Island of British Columbia, in that both beings are known to hunt children specifically. Perhaps the Seed Eater is a similar type of spirit. Who's to say? All I care about is feeding it a nice spray of buckshot. Another kid's show of a messed up secret. Why do these keep popping up? Anyways, this show was a poorly archived series that came from their Nickelodeon network for their preschool focused channel, Noggin, that was scheduled to air around the late 90s. This show focused mainly on teaching kids basic first aid and how to take care of basic injuries. Scraped knees, cut fingers, small bumps on the head. You get the idea. Very helpful on paper. Featuring a small claymation apple named, well, Appy. From what I've seen, the apple itself was animated a little like, Gumby is the closest thing I can think of. Or the old Bertha show my kids used to watch. Stop motion, really choppy stop motion. It's clear that a pilot and what episodes we found are on a shoestring budget. The episodes we did recover have been strange. The first three were pretty standard. A kid fell over on his bike and Appy helped him to bandage up the scraped knee, for example. It's the later episodes that are really weird. I'll give an example. The 6th episode was all about how you should not play with knives. And by God, does it show what happens. The footage was edited very haphazardly and shows a different kid. Honestly, I think it's a home recording of a real accident. Happy then goes on screen in an obvious blue screen effect to talk about why you shouldn't play with knives, while the video continues on with the whole room screaming and the poor kid crying. I can see why this series never aired. I hope the crew got arrested. There are more examples, but I don't really have the stomach to relay what happens. Couldn't even finish some of them. Weird. Right, so, back in the 2000s, when the old Mickey Mouse cartoons were being digitally archived, there were a couple of never-seen-before shorts. Most of them were just simple test animations, a walk here, a dance there. One was even an early draft of another cartoon. Then there was this one. The film reel was locked in a safe that looked like it had not been opened since the 40s or 50s. When the safe was cracked, the film canister had "Do not view, copy, or destroy" written on it. Of course, the large company did not listen and so digitized it. While the digitization was going on, the company sent a technician to oversee the process and make sure the film played smoothly. After 15 minutes, the technician stumbled into the room, completely psychologically broken. He was found dead in his house the same day. The company sent an intern to write down what the hell the film was. At first, it was just Mickey walking down the street to seem like any other test animation. Then, things started flashing. The intern did not write down exactly what it was. It seemed like he had a hard time processing what he was seeing. Random patterns and stuff. The cartoon soon devolved. Audible screaming can be heard, and the buildings in the background began to warp and move in impossible directions. Then the writing stopped there. When the other crew went to check in on him, he was found dead on the spot. He tore his eyes out and stabbed himself in the throat with his pen. I think we're seeing a pattern here. Upon reviewing the footage, our teams found something rather odd. There was no visceral imagery or anything like that. However, we found that the patterns that flash were actually some form of rudimentary cognitohazard. This would be considered the first case of such a technique being made by human hands. It is unknown why Disney put them in there, or how he even managed to make them. My contacts at a certain foundation have finally gotten back to me and gave me this subject. I swear those guys ran like the DMV, but somehow slower. SCP-106, or the Old Man, is a humanoid being with corrosive skin and produces a highly damaging substance from his skin. This substance is no regular acid. It seems to corrode the very physical aspects of reality, allowing him to sink into pools of the stuff and appear pretty much everywhere. He can also drag people into the pools, into some hellish place. We have yet to recover them alive. The Old Man is a very intelligent and sadistic being. The only way to lure him out is the suffering screams of pain. his containment cube can't actually keep him, only confuse him with the complex structure of the containment cube. That does not stop him from breaking out, of course. Honestly, I don't know how anyone can even work for that damn foundation. They have got to have some goddamn good benefits to have such employee retention. A newly confirmed hostile entity is a rare thing these days. I mean, don't get me wrong, thank God, or whoever the hell is running this vaudeville show these days, that there are not more of these damn things that we don't know about. It takes a lot of research to determine whether or not something is real or just hearsay. At first, we thought this subject was just an urban legend, like Bigfoot, or Veggie Man. This being has been rumored to exist since the 1960s, but it's said that a tornado siren on a sunny day means that a lot of people are going to disappear with no rhyme or reason. In the 90s, a family disappeared off the face of the earth. Their only remains were their torn apart car, found near some camping grounds in a forest, and the camera inside. Most of the pictures were normal, of course, but in the background of some of them you can see a very odd-looking tornado siren poking out from the treetops. As the pictures go on, the siren gets closer and closer, until the last few we see that it is not a tornado siren, but a creature, a grotesque thing that walked like a man, but 40 feet tall, with desiccated skin so thin you can see the veins and muscles, even in a grainy photo. And in the sirens were teeth, an ungodly mix of flesh and metal. After this evidence was collected, we started looking more into disappearances in the same area. So many. There are so many. Sometimes, in spite of our best efforts, investigations grow cold. In this case, there are clear factors that are beyond our understanding. This case occurred a while back. Some reports say 2014, some say much earlier. At a gas station in rural Pennsylvania, a young man was tasked to review the security tapes of the establishment due to motor oil disappearing from the shelves. The boss suspected a newer employee was stealing it. When the tape was reviewed, everything was normal. Customers came in, got their things, got out. Simple day-to-day operations. Then at 5:03 p.m., the same customers started to come in. Then the same at 6:03 and 7:03. Every hour, on the dot, the same few customers came in, got the exact same things, and got out, only to come back an hour later. Then at 12:03, the employee was seen smiling at the camera, his face taking up the entire frame, and in a near instant he disappeared alongside the motor oil. When a worker called the boss, they went to call the new employee. The employee did not respond to his phone, so they called the police. Then the post history repeats. Update. 4:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update. 5:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update. 6:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. The same thing until 10:58 p.m. It's not a time loop because time is clearly passing by. It's not tape manipulation because we see the sun move in the background. And it's not some form of hypnosis. We don't have any evidence and do not take account of motor oil vanishing in thin air. We just don't know what the hell's going on in there. Brutal Obscene Beast, better known by the acronym BOB, is a humanoid that is pale white, has a large mouth and no eyes. I'm seeing a pattern here. It is known to prey on humans. Age does not seem to matter to it, because we've had reports of it hunting children and adults. We know it's intelligent and patient. Is often seen attacking rural homes outside of cities. Despite its intelligence and humanized look, it's very animalistic. It hates lights, and if you shine it with a flashlight, it will flee. If you see this creature, it's important that you don't show fear and stand your ground. It seems to respond badly to confrontation and will run away. If you have access to one, make sure you have a loaded firearm nearby if you think you're being stalked by this creature. According to survivors, the loud noise and flash of a gunshot, even one with a blank, will scare it off permanently. However, it may return at a later time, so keep an eye out.
Do not click away. This is not a test. Stand by for an important message. This video stream has been seized. The Committee of Paranormal Investigations seized this video stream as a coordinated law enforcement action to protect the public against potentially hazardous and classified information. Law enforcement agencies are currently in the process of apprehending the subject that has been leaking information. Anyone sharing this stream and the contents it contains is subject to investigation, prosecution, or any law enforcement action. You have been warned. We are here for your protection.
Shit. Okay, the fuck, they're onto me. Damn it. Okay. I have one last thing to report, then I have to get out of here. This is a final warning to the public. Last year, I talked about the old legend of the Slender Man. Well, I recently found out something that was hidden, even to me. And the reason I'm even leaking the existence of this agency in the first place. I wanted to look into this more before saying anything, but now it looks like my hand is forced. The Slender Man seems to have this strange psychic aura around him. Survivors of attacks have detailed a strange mental haze ever since their encounters, and a constant feeling of being watched. Some have told of a strange pull, a mental hook that is lodged into their brain. where they start to feel the need to follow it. They start hearing a voice not their own, telling them unintelligible things. It is more than just some forest being. It's a mental parasite that latches onto individuals it deems fit to do its bidding. The proxies of the forest god, they call themselves, a cult-like following of numerous mentally shattered individuals. We have known about them for years, but the true extent of their influence is buried by my own agency. The Slender Man has followers from the general public, government workers on local and federal levels. I even have evidence that the CPI has... Oh no. Shit.
We know you're in there.
They're here. I've got to get rid of these files.
Open the damn door! There he is!
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm an arm. Hey! Hey, back off!
Turn off that fucking camera!